good day viewers. My name is Sylvester Kutsi and I'm from Time to Talk, the multimedia platform. And I'm today here in Vredendal sitting next door to somebody who's actually working for the South African Human Rights Commission. And before we start, I think it's important that the viewers there on the other side knows exactly who are sitting here on my right.
Thank you, Sylvester. My name is Tammy Carter. I am the Advocacy and Research Consultant for the Western Cape Provincial Office of the South African Human Rights Commission.
Can you explain to the viewers there, what is the powers in the mandate of the SAHRC, South African Human Rights Commission?
For sure. Sylvester, the Human Rights Commission was established in terms of the Constitution, Section 181 of the Constitution to be specific. In terms of that, the Human Rights Commission is mandated to promote the development, protection and attainment of human rights in South Africa. We're also mandated to monitor and assess the observance of human rights, and then also to research and report on the observance of human rights.
Okay, then further, the functions of the commissions. Because like people said, like you were saying in the workshop, people don't really understand. Can you give an explanation? What is the functions of the commission?
Okay. So the functions of the Human Rights Commission are to, as the mandate says, we do research into human rights. Okay, so we've got a research department that deals with that. Then we do monitoring of human rights, and we have human rights officers and monitors who attend to that. We are also mandated, that's the part that I forgot, to educate on human rights, which is what I'm doing here in Vredendal today, running this workshop so that we can inform our human rights champions of different ways of dealing with human rights complaints. And then the human rights complaint investigation, which is the protection of human rights that we deal with, is also handled at a provincial level. Now, the part that you were talking about where people don't really understand. So people know that we have commissioners who are appointed by Parliament. Right? Those commissioners are very public, they're very visible, but they don't deal with the investigation of complaints per se.
Yes.
So the Human Rights Commission's provincial offices have what is called a complaints investigation process. We refer to it as our complaints handling proceedings. Right? In terms of those procedures, we get to assign a reference number to a complaint, and we can track the complaint through that reference number. Now, when people see a commissioner, like almost like for Commissioner Chris Nissen,
Yes, he's
well bekend in die Weskaap, right? Commissioner Nissen will come into a community and he'll talk to people, right? People think that by talking to him, by relaying their complaint to him, that they're lodging a complaint. That's actually not the case. The lodging of a complaint happens at the provincial office, where that complaint can be monitored through its entire process, through the investigation process. So that's the important thing that people need to understand. To lodge a complaint in the Western Cape, we've got an email address. You can come into our offices and you can phone us, and we even have a WhatsApp telephone number that you can reach us on if you want to send us a WhatsApp with your complaint typed out on WhatsApp.
Okay. So what you was actually explaining now is also part and parcel of the complaint handling processes.
Yes.
Is there anything that you want to add on that, or are you covered on that?
No, the complaint handling processes, I just want to add, also gives the public a way to check that the Human Rights Commission is doing its job.
Absolutely.
So if you lodge a complaint with us and you haven't heard back from us for 5 months, you will have the right to then say, Human Rights Commission, this is my complaint reference number that you gave me 5 months ago.
Yes.
Since then I've not heard from you. Please tell me what is happening in my complaint.
Yeah.
We need, as citizens of this country, to be more active in asserting our rights.
Yes.
Like I was saying to you in the workshop as well, we have a situation where we have 5 investigators for the whole of the Western Cape. And other provinces have even less. Like Northern Cape has only got 2. Free State, 2. The Gauteng, for instance, which is a large province, also only has 5. And I mean, in terms of population numbers, Gauteng has a hell of a lot more people than us, but still only 5. But we find Western Cape does have, and of course we're biased because we're from here,
Okay.
but Western Cape does have very active citizens. But their activities maybe sometimes need a little bit of direction.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's the
The other aspect is that can you also give the viewers the discussion? Can you have a brief discussion on the intersection of the specific rights that you are talking about?
for sure. From our perspective as the Human Rights Commission, we do believe that all rights are dependent on one another. Okay, you cannot tell someone that you have a right to life if they don't have a right to water.
Yes.
Because you can't live without water. So that's what we talk about when we say intersectionality.
Yes.
Because these rights all intersect with each other elsewhere. So what is recognized in this bundle of human rights that we have in our Bill of Rights, in our Constitution, is that these are the basic necessities that are required in order for a human being to be able to live in dignity.
Absolutely.
Okay? So that is why we talk about intersectionality of rights in recognition of the fact that they all are interlinked and the one is dependent on the other.
What is the relevant, if you can call it the relevant information, if you had to fill in that specific claim form, what is the relevant information in short that people had to fill in to make sure that their complaint can be registered, for instance?
Okay, so first and foremost, we need your contact details
Yes.
because we need to be able to give you feedback. A complaint handling procedures requires that we give you feedback as a complainant, right? So your name, your contact details, very important.
Yes.
Then, if you know it, the name and contact details of the person who you are alleging has violated your rights,
Yes.
because we need to be able to contact them as well. The reason for that, as we've discussed in the workshop, is that it is a basic of the law that we hear both sides before we can make a decision as to whether there's a rights violation or not in the case of the Human Rights Commission. Okay? So we need the contact information of the person we would refer to as the respondent in a complaint of a human rights violation. Then we need you to tell us what happened, we need you to tell us where it happened, and we need you to tell us, very importantly, if there are any witnesses to what happened. That would allow us to say, because when we receive a complaint, the provincial manager is required to make an assessment of whether the matter falls within our mandate. We're a constitutional body, so we can only do what the Constitution allows us to do. Okay? So if it's a matter that falls within our mandate, and we know from our previous talks that the whole of the Bill of Rights falls in the Commission's mandate, but there are other bodies that are more specialized than us to deal with specific aspects of it.
Yes.
So a gender commission, or a commission for the protection of cultural, religious and linguistic
Absolutely.
communities. Those ones are specialized with that section of the mandate. Doesn't mean the Human Rights Commission can't investigate it,
Yes.
it just means that we recognize that there's somebody better that can do it. Okay? So, if you've reported your complaint to
Yeah.
one of those bodies, we might come back to you and say to you, well, that is the appropriate body to investigate your complaint. You should stay with them. But what we can also do is we can then ask that body, Gender Commission, we understand you sitting with this complaint. We think this is a very sensitive and important
Yes.
complaint. Please can you tell us what you are doing about the matter? And then we can also act as a liaison.
You're very interesting. Then, because why it is so interesting, viewers, is that, can you also explain to the viewers there, the commission on itself, is it a body that is like a court, or is it a body that is only do some recommendations?
Okay, so the Human Rights Commission, in terms of the Constitution, can make findings of human rights violations and then can recommend what the remedy should be for that.
That's right.
Okay. Now, the difference between us and a court is we have a much more informal process. A court, you're going to have to go there and give evidence under oath and swear that the evidence is going to be true.
Yes.
With the Human Rights Commission, our process is designed to be more accessible to members of the public who can come to us, and we then do all the lawyer stuff.
Yes.
So that we can then make a determination. But we're not going to ask you to give us an affidavit or go on oath or anything like that.
Yes.
So when we then say, okay, your right has been violated. This is the remedy that we feel is appropriate.
Yes.
It's a recommendation rather than a binding order.
Precisely.
However, people want to be compliant with the Human Rights Commission.
Yes.
People want people to think well of them,
Precisely.
So, to a large extent, people do comply with the Human Rights Commission.
Okay.
And at the moment, the Human Rights Commission is doing this program, which is called SHINE,
Okay.
the Social Harmony National Initiative. After the riots in 2021, in
Yes.
July 21, what we noticed is that as South Africans, we're still very apart from one another.
Yes. Yes.
Apartheid did that to us.
Correctly said.
Okay? Made us scared of one another, made us to not know each other and recognize each other as human beings. Okay? SHINE aims at teaching us, first and foremost, how to look at ourselves.
Yes.
Okay? And we do that through first taking a step back, doing breathing exercises, meditating a little bit, and then engaging with one another.
Okay.
So you will do something that offends me now, and instead of me snapping back at you and then we're enemies for life,
Precisely.
my training through SHINE is now to take a couple of deep breaths
Yes.
and just look at it from another perspective. Maybe go home, maybe meditate on it.
At the rest or at the sleep.
Yeah, and then come back to you and say to
Yes.
you, Sylvester, you know what? The thing you said to me yesterday, the other day, I didn't like it. It made me feel bad. I feel that it was discriminatory, or I feel that it was unnecessarily harsh of me. And we can have a conversation about it then.
Yes.
Instead of us destroying a relationship and you walk your way and I walk my way, and when you see me get robbed in the street or I see you get robbed in the street, I look the other direction. Because that to a large extent is what is happening in this country.
Yeah.
And we saw it very clearly during those riots in July, where we had whole communities that were fighting one another. So it's not just about the introspection though.
Precisely.
It's also about us as human beings in our own environments, in our families, in our schools, in our churches, in our community groups, those WhatsApp chat groups that
Yes.
we're also fond of.
Yes.
About us realizing that we need to be different from one another. If we want that change, if we want that society that our constitution speaks of, this society that is based on freedom and dignity and equality, then we have a duty to contribute to that through simple things like as ons mekaar sien in die straat, ons groet mekaar.
Precies. Dus is 'n maas ons geleer.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly that thing.
Yes.
Even strangers on the streets. A stranger is just someone who's waiting to become a friend, for all we know. So we greet one another. I've been doing that,
Yes.
when I'm walking to the bus stop in the morning to go to work. Strangers, people I
Yes.
don't know from anywhere.
No way.
Just greeting people. You know what? It changes people's day.
Absolutely.
They're different.
Absolutely.
There's some guys, gentlemen walking along coming off their night shift. They're tired
Yes.
and they just want to get to bed and hulle is 'n bietjie moeilik.
Yes.
You greet them, you give them a smile. It actually changes them. You
Absolutely.
actually see that you're recognizing their humanity, and in doing that, dan sien jy hulle is 'n bietjie meer rustig.
Correctly.
Actually can see a change. So that's the kind of thing that the SHINE program is encouraging. So I'm going to go through that a little bit with everyone in the workshop as well, because we need to actually get more South Africans on board with this program. Our deputy chairperson,
Yes.
Ms. Fatima Chauhan, she's the former deputy minister of Home Affairs.
Okay.
She is the main driver behind this project. We were at the Cape Town Arts Festival. We had
Nice.
some learners from various schools. We wish we could have gotten them from more areas,
All
but
the whole
time
South Africa
constraints and
Yes.
budget constraints. Sometimes,
Yes,
we have plans and then we have to modify them a little bit. But what we did with the learners was we spoke to them
Yes.
about our history. We spoke to them about our identity and pride in our identity. And then we taught them through a service provider, very lovely people called the Brahma Kumaris.
Yes.
They were teaching the learners breathing exercises.
Take it slowly in,
Yeah.
breathe it slowly out. Okay.
The fantastic techniques
Yes,
that they have.
yes.
And then also meditation techniques they taught
Very
them.
important.
Because in our schools, our learners they're really going through a lot of challenges.
Yes.
And so with the challenges that they go through, instead of us, you say something bad, I say something bad, and every time we're escalating until we eventually come to blows, we're giving these learners or trying to give them the start of the kind of skill that all of us as adults also need, where we learn to de-escalate things in the interests of recognizing that we are one body, one nation. You know, like during the Rugby World Cup, when we
Yes.
saw everyone joining in and
Ooh,
supporting the
yeah.
Springboks, we should be doing that all the time as a country.
Absolutely. We have to
All
be
the time.
one and be together.
But we allow a lot of divisiveness, and especially now, as we're gearing up towards our national and provincial elections, you're going to see a lot of that divisive talk coming, especially from the ones in the political arena, unfortunately.
Yes.
That's where our shine comes in, where we can actually say, let me think about what you've said.
Absolutely.
Let me take that deep breath and just think. Because as a human being, we believe, isn't it, that we are different from animals.
Precisely.
So then we must be different.
Absolutely.
We absolutely have to take up that challenge of being that change that we want to see in our world. So that's what our Shine program is about. And I can go on for hours about Shine. As you can hear, I'm so sorry.
The passion is there, and but it's also important. That's why I established this platform, Time to Talk, because that is the only way that people can express themselves, educate people, and inform people also about what's going on around this world.
Absolutely.
These 2 days that you are here, I understand you're going to be here for 2 days. Just give the viewers a short preview. What is going to happen today, what is currently happening, and what is going to happen tomorrow, and who are you busy with in that community hall?
Okay, so the Human Rights Commission, as part of its duty to educate, goes around and does these human rights education programs through myself as the advocacy person. Okay, but we also realized that being that there's only one advocacy person for each province, we can cover more ground if we empower what we call human rights champions, which is who we're busy with here today, with this knowledge of human rights and of these programs and innovations, and also with the knowledge of them being able to lodge complaints on behalf of youth community members. And so via advice officers and via
Constituency offices.
Yes, constituency officers,
Yes.
NPOs, community
I'm talking
development
about this.
organizations, charitable organizations, churches, religious groups, youth communities.
Yes.
We've established what we call the human rights champions. And these champions then act as the eyes, ears, and the mouthpiece of the Human Rights Commission to go out and spread the gospel of human rights. And to say to people, you know what, you don't have to fight these battles on your own. When there are issues that are affecting your human rights, you can go to your champion in your community and they can then bring it to the attention of the Human Rights Commission. Of course, you don't have to use that process. You, as a member of the public, are welcome to come to the Human Rights Commission, but often people don't have the resources to be able to do that. So then these champions in their communities do that on their behalf. So today's workshop is empowering the champions to collect information relating to human rights violations and then hand it over to us in the appropriate way. Because we spoke about that confusion. You know,
Correctly.
you speak to a commissioner and then you think you've lodged a complaint. You have to lodge a complaint in one of the ways that I've mentioned previously. Then tomorrow we are dealing with a particular right. And that is the right to housing, okay? We deal in our communities with lots of evictions. So we need our champions to be aware of organizations out there that can be of assistance when we are dealing with evictions. So whether it's an eviction here in the city, in the urban area, or whether it's an eviction out on the farm, We have organizations, government departments, bodies that are empowered and authorized by law to be of assistance in those specific circumstances. So that's tomorrow's program with our human rights champions. We're going to empower our people if we have to do it one town at a time.
Oh, great stuff. Do you have any information about, you're talking about, they call them activists, but activists, activists, and the name you call them, where can people find in this specific area, how will they get hold of this, what did you call it?
The human rights champions.
The human rights champions.
Okay, well, human rights champions in this particular area are people who are known to work in their communities. Okay, so Matsikama Farm Workers Organization, various other farm
SPP,
worker
like
organizations
SPP.
like SPP.
Yes.
But there's also other
Yes.
organizations that work with in the gender-based violence
Yeah,
arena
NGOs.
that are represented here. So we've got NGOs, a large proportion of NGOs actually, that are human rights champions. And they are all over the Western Cape as well. So not just in Vredendal, they represent Lutzville and Van Reinsdorp
All
and
the surrounding
Klaver
areas.
and the surrounding areas.
Lastly, can I ask you, how will people, or how can people contact the Human Rights Commission? Is there any online thing that they can also do, or what is it?
All right. So for lodging complaints, you can do it online via the Human Rights Commission's website. Okay. So www.sahrc.org.za is our web page.
Yes.
On there, at the top of the web page, there is a tab that you click that says Lodge a Complaint. Okay. On that same website, you can also find under the Contact Us tab, you're going to find the details of the provincial office. But if I can quickly rattle it off, if you don't mind,
Yes.
the email address is uppercase WC and then complaints. The first letter of complaints is in uppercase as well.
Yes.
Right? So WC Western Cape complaints at sahrc.org.za. That's the email address. You don't need to fill in the complaint form as long as you give us the details that we spoke
Absolutely.
about. You can just pop it into an email and send it off to that email address, and the complaint will be assessed by the provincial manager. All right. Then we have a telephone number in the Western Cape as well. 021 426 2277 is the telephone number there. Okay.
Yes.
You can call our offices and you can lodge a complaint telephonically as well. Okay. We also have a WhatsApp line.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the number of that line escapes me at the moment.
Yeah, that's
However,
fine.
it is on the website, so you can get it
Okay.
there. You can lodge your complaint via WhatsApp as well. That's a new innovation. It's not as well monitored as the email is, and also, obviously, our preference is email,
Yes.
but it's not our preference. That's why we would like to make it as accessible as possible. Lastly, if you are able to, you can walk into our office anytime during normal business hours.
Okay.
We are open from 8 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon, Monday to Thursday, and until 3 on a Friday.
But where are you based?
We are based in Cape Town City Centre at number 1 Tybalt, which is on the corner of Long and Herengracht Streets in the city centre.
Oh, absolutely interesting. Viewers, you have heard a lot. Take it in from us. If you have any other things that you also need to know, feel free to contact me, not on the specific issues, but I will also direct you if needed. That's why the platform Time to Talk is here for you. We actually say Time to Talk is out of the people and for the people. And that's what we are doing here today, bringing the people nearer to you. Any last word for you from your side, so that we can then say, Human Rights Commission, so to say, Human Rights Commission, boer. Any last word?
No, human beings, boy. That's what the Human Rights Commission is for. You
Yes.
know what? We have one of the most advanced constitutions in the world.
I agree with you. fully.
Okay.
Yes.
We need to get this constitution working. Why? Not just so that we can tick a box, working for the people.
Absolutely.
And that is our aim in the Western Cape Provincial Office, to ensure, to the extent that we are able to, all day, every day, when we are at work, we are working on making human rights a reality for the people of the Western Cape. But we can't do it without people bringing to our attention
Yeah,
the
that's
problem.
right, exactly.
Unfortunately, there are limited resources.
Yes.
Like I said to you, we've got 5 investigators for the whole of the Western Cape. They are human beings with lives of their own as well. So if one is on sick leave, then we're down to 4. If one of them has something else going on in their life, then it affects capacity.
Absolutely.
But we try our best to ensure that every complaint gets attention, whether it's for us or not,
Yes.
whether it's something that we can deal with or not. We try to respond to everything that comes our way. Even if it's just to tell you, we're not the right people to deal with it, but there is another body that can deal with it, why don't you go there? And sometimes we even, if it's something that is in our mandate, but we have a more specialized body to deal with the matter, then we will say to you, we will send it to that body.
Okay, great stuff. From that, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, from Time to Talk side, if you want to contact me, my number is 073-550-1295. We wish you all the best for 2024, and a lot of these interviews will happen during this year, and I think this dissemination of information and educational aspect will continue. May we all say together, we are sharing information that is always poor. Thank you very, very much.